what an informative 3 days that we've had here. This was the 7th Trials Methodology Symposium, and I think you'll agree with me that it's been excellent, with a stellar lineup of speakers focusing on the future of clinical trials and the 4 Ps: people, project, purpose, and place. The symposium started on Monday the 4th with an afternoon session on people, developing expertise and supporting careers. A series of breakout sessions for students have been organised, with an excellent lineup of facilitators to share and explore experiences. The sessions were well attended by the scholars among us and included 40 minutes of valuable discussion. The symposium afternoon session was then formally opened by Professor Peter Duran, who welcomed us all to the symposium and led us into the next session, further focusing on people, together with invited distinguished speakers to provide their post-PhD perspectives. We heard from Dr. Owen McKernan, who provided us with a very insightful perspective on Health Research Centre operations management. He outlined his pathway in developing the infant centre's work, together with the variety of skills he had acquired along the way. Dr. Danielle Edwards gave us an overview of her education and positions she'd held. She started where I am, here at Keele, moving into research here. Danielle explained her interest in the collection of routine data for research and how throughout her career to date, she has worked in various areas of medicine, which has involved developing her experiences in a wide range of trial methodologies. And notably, her advice was to network and to make use of opportunities provided to you as a student. Next, we heard from Dr. Alice Bigham, who outlined her journey from academia into industry. I particularly liked her take-home message to us all, giving us all a strong boost of confidence, which was know your value and you have plenty of it. And finally, Professor Bob Harris, based in sunny Stockholm in Sweden, gave us a supervisor's guide to PhD completion. He provided tips and advice on successful supervision and outlined time as a critical aspect of planning and thesis delivery. I also really like Bob's suggestion that we should aim to pimp our theses with illustrations and figures to really engage the reader. The question and answer session that followed with questions posed by the PhD scholars further provided the sharing of experiences and enthusiasm. Questions were insightful and career options were discussed. On day 2, we were welcomed again by Professor Peter Duran for the morning session. This focused on purpose. When uncertain, the best treatment option is an RCT, and this was hosted by Professor Declan Devan from Galway. We heard from 3 renowned speakers, Dr. Lenny Derder from Utrecht in the Netherlands, on innovative trial designs and some of the considerations we need to make when using them. It's fantastic that we're now using alternative methodologies, and she focused us on adaptive designs. We then heard from Perju Oshisanya, an advocate for diversity and inclusion in trial design. She raised our awareness on the importance of including a more diverse population in research and the potential benefits of artificial intelligence in enabling this. She updated us on the NIHR Include programme and the work being conducted to reach underserved communities with research opportunities. Paul Glasgow from Bond University in Australia then gave us 3 points to justify the RCT as a best option when we need to investigate with them. Firstly, that new treatments can be worse as well as better, and the idea that new is not necessarily better. That most treatments have some adverse effects, and RCTs really are needed to demonstrate benefit. I was personally like the graph that Professor Glasgow showed us, highlighting the exponential growth in trials, highlighting the contribution we are all making. And randomized usage, preventing haphazard usage, and the fact that we learn little from haphazard usage. A question and answer session then followed with the 3 speakers, and this was a really interesting and stimulating session, with overarching themes in that we need to educate our communities in research and come up with innovative ways in which to engage people in the RCT. Our afternoon session was then hosted by Teresa Maguire from the Health Research Board in Ireland. This involved a double act of two excellent sessions presented by some of our well-known, experienced and valued colleagues, focusing on the project and the evolution of trial design. The first presentation focused on joint chief investigators, and Professor Paula Williams and Ian Sinner, or Wallace and Gromit as they dubbed themselves, shared their experiences and what they have each learned by taking on a shared CI role. They described their journey in developing a CI partnership and opening the asymptomatic trial. Following their presentation, I was truly astounded that out of the 234 NIHR awards over the last 3 years, only 11% of them had had joint leads. Paula and Ian made this arrangement sound like a no-brainer, and that it would make sense for there to be an expert in trial methodology, operations and logistics, together with an expert in the clinical area being investigated, and to work together to ensure a well-delivered trial. Notably, the elements that made this work for them was their regular communications, shared responsibility of tasks, and the mutual respect and understanding they had for each other's expertise. Next, we heard from Professor Colin O'Donnell, neonatologist and researcher from Dublin. I felt it was particularly heartwarming that Colin described research as a habit he couldn't get away from. Thank goodness that there are so many of us with that habit. Colin shared with us a really emotive presentation on how trials need a patient-centred design and need to be better integrated into routine clinical care. Colin's presentation then touched us all with a description of just how to incorporate the delivery of an RCT with a vulnerable population, an environment where the patient could be acutely ill, an emergency situation, and with high mortality or morbidity rates. Colin highlighted that whilst conducting research in such an environment is particularly tricky, engagement and enrolment of participants is actually extremely high, with over 80% of those invited wanting to participate. And therefore, Colin urged us all to think about the personnel we have on our trial delivery teams, who we really need to engage to make it work, consent, how we can make this work, what our research question is, ensuring that we're only collecting the relevant and measurable outcomes. I think we could all learn some lessons from Colin in making our CRFs as brief as possible. And as Colin described them, making them idiot-proof, and being innovative with our trial designs. The question and answer session then rounded up this session, and the overarching theme for me and the message home was that of team science. This is about being open and transparent around delegated responsibilities, sharing your working environments and having mutual respect for each other's expertise, to include the patients, the clinicians, the methodologists, sponsors and funders. RCT are no one single person's achievement, they are a team achievement, and all roles have a vital play in making them successful. This morning and our final session has focused on the place, trials in a post-pandemic era, lessons learned from the future of a trial. This session has been hosted by Professor Sandra Eldridge from Queen Mary University London, and again we've enjoyed two excellent presentations. Firstly, Professor Jane Armitage discussed 3 trials and how they have worked to embed trials in service delivery. She outlined the importance of low-cost, efficient and embedded trials and the use of routinely collected data. And then we've heard from Professor Rustam from the University of Edinburgh with a strategy to reduce the carbon footprint of clinical trials. He has opened our eyes to why we should care. Global targets are not enough, and us wealthiest nations need to do more. And Rustam reminded us of the 19 carbon reduction NIHR guidelines to improve our practice and of our own responsibilities for reducing our carbon footprint. The development of an online carbon calculator will be a welcome addition for use in our future trials. Accessible throughout the 3 days have also been the TMRN Student Summer Scholarship poster presentations. These excellent posters provided us with a great summary of the work being conducted by students. And this afternoon we have a closed event for those of you involved in the TMRP working groups. Now, all of this could not have been possible without the contributions of such a huge team, to include the Symposium's organising committee, It has been a privilege to have been able to work with Peter, Declan, Sandra, Karen, Paula, Helen and Sheena over the last few months with support from Lisa, Carol and Etna, and our conference partners, Connor, Brian, Nicola and others who have ensured that all the platform wizardry has been seamless. And thanks are extended to our session moderators, Declan, Teresa and Sandra. And a huge gratitude goes to the excellent speakers that have attended to deliver. And of course, you, the attendees. So finally, many thanks for attending the 7th Trials Methodology Symposium. While it has needed to be online this time, and I can't wish you a safe journey home, whilst next time, hopefully, we can all meet up again soon. We'd now like to leave you again with the launch of our new video, developed in partnership with the HRB-TMRN and the MRC-NIHR Trials Methodology Research Partnership, entitled What is Trials Methodology? The purpose of this short animation video is to develop a new resource to explain the concept of trials methodology to a general audience in plain, simple language. The motivation of the project is to help improve the public and patients on the understanding of trials methodology in health research. So the video is also now live on the 2 different websites, and I will now hand over to the team at the studio for the video, and we will play it again now to close out today's session. With thanks.
Good health and healthcare are important to everyone. People want to make well-informed decisions about their health. The findings of research studies are an essential ingredient in helping people make well-informed health decisions. Randomized trials are a type of research study, often used to find out if a new medicine or treatment works. In a randomized trial, the decision about which treatment a person gets is decided at random, often by a computer, rather than being decided by the doctor or research participant. This is called randomization. Randomization allows us to create groups of people with as similar as possible characteristics like age, gender, ethnicity in each group. Some groups are then given the medicine or treatment, and others are not given the medicine or treatment. This means that we can be more certain that any differences in the results between the groups are caused by the treatment and not by differences in the characteristics of the people who take part in the trials. Randomized trials help test new medicines or treatments and find ways to diagnose, treat, and reduce the chance of developing medical conditions. By taking part in randomized trials, people have shown researchers, health professionals, patients, and the public what medicines and treatments work best. Randomized trials have helped save lives and helped find out what treatments work best for specific conditions or for particular groups of people. But have you ever thought about how trials are done? Looking at how we plan, do, and share the findings of trials is called trials methodology. This is a way of us thinking about how we do trials and whether there might be a better way. Trials methodology asks things like, how can we make taking part in a trial more relevant and easier for patients and their doctors? So, what might that actually mean for the trial? Let's give an example of something that sounds simple but isn't. Asking a person like you if they would like to take part in the trial. For this, we need to think about what and how much information you need. Who should invite you to take part? When should they contact you? And what support would you need to help you make the final decision? To answer these questions, researchers are developing better ways of helping patients make more informed decisions about whether or not to take part in randomized trials. For example, researchers are working with patients and members of the public to find out if giving information about the trial in, say, a video format works better than giving written information. Researchers also need to decide what things to measure in a trial to find out which treatments work best. These are called outcomes. Trials methodology helps us to understand what patients, health professionals and researchers agree are the most important outcomes to measure for particular conditions. Patients and the public are increasingly becoming involved with trials methodology research on how we plan, do and share the findings of trials. We hope this short video has helped share why randomized trials are important, why your participation is important, and why trials methodology has a vital role in how we better plan, do and share the findings of randomized trials.